Welcome back to Podiatry Marketing. I'm your host, Jim McDonald, joined as always with my trusty co-host, Tyson Franklin. Tyson, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic today, Big Jim. Love being trusty Tyson.
It's not quite as cool as Big Jim Mac, but there's only one of those
Not
on this podcast. So, what
not
can I say?
even close. It's not even close. I cannot come up with anything that is as good as Big Jim Mac.
Yeah, what can you do?
Let's go. That's just our life. That's the hand you've been dealt. You've just got to live with it.
Yeah, you got to suck it up and just move on to the next day, I guess.
Yeah. So today I'm talking about the happiness advantage and the marketing strategy you're not using, which most people probably aren't using. And yeah, this whole happiness thing's been in my head for a long time now, since I did my talk last year. But in this episode, I'm going to break it down why happiness is one of the most powerful marketing strategies you already have and why most clinics completely overlook it, and how a few small changes can turn your patients into your biggest promoters.
I like that. I think, a happy patient is a great way to spread, either be word of mouth or digital word of mouth about what you're doing. So I'm excited to hear about your thoughts on happy practice, happy patients, and happy marketing, I guess, today.
So most podiatrists are marketing logic, but patients usually buy emotion. And I see this all the time. A clinic will invest in new equipment. They might get a flashy website, and they might even have some paid ads. And don't get me wrong, none of that is bad. That is all good stuff. But here's the problem. Most of it is logical, and patients don't make decisions logically. They justify with logic, but they decide with emotion. And if you don't believe me, think about it this way. You could have two clinics. The podiatrists have the same qualifications, they provide the same treatments, and they even have similar pricing. But why does one thrive while another one is actually struggling? And I think it comes down to how patients feel. And happiness sits right in the center of that. So a clinic that can tap into making patients happy compared to a clinic that all they care about is just getting through the treatment and getting to the next patient, patients will identify that, and that's why one will really succeed and one might. And I think about my clinic in Cairns, when there were other podiatrists here in Cairns, some that had been here before I got here, and my clinic boomed because we really focused on patients, the experience of patients having a good time.
I mean, that's a great point. What's that quote they say? Like, they may forget what you say, but they'll never forget the way you make them feel.
Yeah,
So, 3, 5 years, 10 years later, you have maybe a patient came in one time or a couple of times, but they're going to totally forget what you did for them or, how you made them better. But if it was a great experience, they're going to have, positive feelings about you in the clinic. But if it was a bad experience, you're going to have the opposite, right? So people are much more memories of feelings and relationships can last the test of time in a way.
like when I think of different places I've been to, and some that I've had I have a fantastic memory. It's a feeling that I have. It's not just what actually took place. And I think if podiatrists can tap into that, it makes a huge difference compared to other healthcare providers who are just providing a service, not providing a service plus a feeling.
Absolutely.
What do I mean by happiness in a clinic? I'm not talking about balloons and party hats in the waiting room, which could be a lot of fun. Now, I'm not saying we have not done that over the years. We have. We have had balloons and we have had party hats. We've done some crazy stuff. But what I'm talking about is patients feeling welcomed when they arrive, or feeling heard, feeling understood when they're telling you a problem. They can genuinely see that you're paying attention, and feeling confident with the outcome that is actually being provided. And usually happiness in a clinic is quite subtle. It can be the tone of your voice. It's how your receptionist actually greets somebody when they walk through that front door. Like they're so glad, so pleased that you've walked in, compared to, ah, shit, you've just ruined the cup of coffee I was about to get. Or my coffee's going cold. I don't really want to be talking to you. Yeah, it's whether a patient feels rushed when they're in the consultation, or do they feel valued? So it's not usually one big moment. It's a series of smaller little moments all stacked together and done consistently.
Yeah, it's those little differences that make a big difference, right? So, like, it's like my parents always told me, "It's not what you say, it's how you say it." So, like, if someone's like, "Hey, welcome to the clinic," blah, blah, like, they're kinda, as opposed to, like, welcome to, just having a positive affect, and being welcoming goes a long way. And what's can sometimes feel like kind of an impersonal world where everybody's on devices, right? The warmth, that someone can provide to you just in the way that they greet you, can really set a patient off down the right path.
Yep. I remember when I was in Seattle last year and I got off the train, went from the airport, got off the train, flawless. Love Seattle, great city. But the hotel I stayed at was only a short distance from the train station. It was raining only a little bit, but I worked my way through the rain, got to the hotel. I went to this entrance. I didn't realize I was at a side entrance. The main entrance is around the front. But I could see the reception counter, and there was a guy standing there, and I saw him look up. He made eye contact with me. It's raining outside. We've made eye contact. I have a suitcase. I'm not holding a weapon, so I wasn't trying to break in. And he looked at me, made eye contact with me, and just turned around and walked the other way. And I went, "You bastard." So then I walk around the front, I walk through the rain, get around the front of the building, work my way in there. The same guy is at the front counter. You'd swore I had just stolen his car and broken into his house and burnt it down. That was the greeting that I got. It was so cold that I just went, this is the worst greeting I've ever had at a hotel. I thought if I could have just packed up, cancelled it, and gone somewhere across the road, I would have done it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I was there for 4 nights, and it was every day. I just kept looking for things to try and make me happy about this hotel. Everybody else there was really nice, except that greeting, and I let them know it too. Yeah, well, when I did my review, I actually mentioned the exact time that I checked in. I described the person who was at the front, and I explained everything on how bad that service was. So I hope they pulled him aside and gave him a little bit of a talking to. My happiness
That's the
level was
benefits of
quite
those
low.
reviews. That's the benefits of those reviews. Hopefully, it could be a way to change, some of that stuff, hopefully.
Yeah, and you don't know. Like, he might have been having a bad day. There could have been something else going on in his life. I totally get that. But at the same point, this is no different when you're with your patients. And no matter what is happening in your personal life, that patient still deserves to be happy when they deserve a happy experience. And I think if for some reason you can't, there's something going on that you having those emotional problems, I think it's only fair that you let the patient know why. Because if that guy said to me, "Oh, sorry, I'm a bit down now at the moment. Yeah, my dog just got run over." Totally get it. I just got a phone call, my dog's been run over by a car. I would 100% get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, so emotional memory basically drives word of mouth. So here's something I've experienced personally. When someone gives you a recommendation for another health professionals, what do they usually say? Now, I know they don't say, "Oh, you should go to this place." Their clinical outcomes are statistically superior to other podiatry clinics or other healthcare professionals. What they'll normally tell you is that you should go here. You'll love them. You're going to really, really like going there. And that is an emotion. That's emotional language, because what sticks with that person and why they're recommending it is the feeling. And this is where happiness becomes marketing, because happy patients talk. They will talk to their friends. They will leave really positive reviews. They won't leave negative reviews. They will mention you in conversations when they're with friends, family, work colleagues, and something comes up. They will talk about you in a really positive light. And the type of marketing, this is free. It's trusted, because if one friend is talking to another friend, they're going to trust that recommendation. And it's really, really powerful. I wrote an article just recently, and when I was in Glasgow, we were looking for somewhere to eat, and I was told by somebody, "You should go to this burger place and you should go to this Italian pizza place." I trusted their opinion. I went there, and both of them fabulous. Couldn't complain about it in any way. But the way that they spoke about those places, they didn't just say, "Oh, you should see the pizzas are nice and big and there's heaps of pepperoni." They just talked about how you could see the emotion in uh, the tone, the way that they talked on why they were recommending it.
No, absolutely. It's that positive word of mouth, but also just having that human connection behind it, right? I think, sometimes whenever I'm planning a vacation, I'm a bit of a stickler for details, like, oh, we're gonna do this at this time on this day. But like
Yeah,
sometimes you have to leave a little bit of an opening because what I found when I go on trips, you meet really nice people, whether it be volunteers at museums, other people say, at a restaurant saying, oh, have you tried this restaurant or have you been to this this library? So for example, we were in Manchester, England, and we went to this really cool science museum, but then the guy at the front's like, "Well, if you think this is cool, I think your kids would love this library over here. It was built in 1911. It looks like a Harry Potter type place. Like, you should definitely go check it out." So by leaving that opening and kind of listening, he's like, I think your kids would love it." The fact that he kind of used those emotions on me, like, well, and I looked at it on my phone, it kind of does look like Hogwarts in a way. So let's go check it out. So yeah, when it's much, humans connecting on that level is much, much more powerful, than just kinda like, like an ad or review, like, like, I mean, reviews can be powerful, but, like, when you have, um, the emotion behind it from another human, it's to a different level of a recommendation, and, are they always right? No, but luckily for us on our trip, this guy was totally correct. The kids loved the place, and, we had a lot of fun.
that's what I was going to ask. Did the kids actually love it? Because if they did, then you go fantastic. But I know when I've been to Universal Studios twice. Once did a frontal line pass, where just because I hate waiting, I'm just a very impatient person. But the second time we heard about these VIP tickets, and I'd heard through somebody else, I said, if you go to Universal Studios, do the VIP. It is unbelievable. And they're explaining it. You can hear the emotion in their voice. So next time we went, we booked the VIP ticket. My recommendation to anyone, if you're ever going to Universal Studios, if you do not get the VIP ticket, you're missing a missed opportunity. It is so good. It is so good compared to any other experience. It's hard to explain just how much better it is. Worth every cent.
Sure. Very cool.
And
I'll
now,
keep that in mind.
Universal Studios have not sponsored this podcast. Oh, wouldn't it be good if they did, though? That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. So what's next?
So, just this thing called the loyalty loop. And it's a satisfied patient might come back. Yeah, they might not. But a happy patient will always come back to your clinic, guaranteed. And not only do they come back, this is the important part, they will follow your treatment plans, which, isn't that fantastic? Happy patients follow your treatment plans. They book future appointments. When you ask them, hey, I need you to make an appointment in 8 weeks, they're happy to book an appointment in 8 weeks because they know how you just made them feel. And straight away they go, I know how I'm going to feel again in 8 weeks. So all of a sudden it becomes a highlight of their, whether it's once a month or once every 2 months, they really look forward. And I've heard podiatrists say this. I know that they'll go, I'm sure some of my patients come in just for the talking. They'll arrive early in the reception area and you can tell they're just enjoying the whole experience of being in your clinic. And that's the type of thing you want. Happy patients also don't question pricing as much. When you put your fees up, they don't question it. They just pay it. And they normally refer their friends and family. And why? Because trust is already there. Happiness strengthens trust, and trust actually reduces friction. So if a happy person is telling one of their friends that, hey, they should come and see you, and they go, well, they can tell by the look on their face, it must be great. They're going to do it. And that reduces the friction of people second guessing whether they should or shouldn't come to your clinic.
It's like we talked about in the past, when other people are talking highly of you, whether it be on your website or your marketing, it's always great to have either real life testimonials or real life experiences of your happy patients to share. Cause, like I said, it just means just means so much.
Well, I've seen it when some of the best promotions I've seen for it, say an event, might be a comedian or it might be a stage show that's on, and they'll interview people just as they're leaving the cinema. And they say, oh, what did you think of tonight's show? And you'll see the grin from ear to ear, and they're expressing how fantastic the show was and why people should go and see it. that's what you need to tap into. If you're in a country where you're allowed to use video testimonials, tap into that. If you can find happy patients that you can tap into, those testimonials absolutely kill it. Okay, so your patients can become part of your marketing team. And this is where things really, really start to shift. When patients are genuinely happy, they don't stay quiet. Actually, they never stay quiet. They become advocates. They start saying things like, "You've got to see my podiatrist. They were absolutely fantastic. You won't believe how good they were." And they will basically, they talk you up. It's fantastic. And then suddenly you're no longer doing all the marketing. Your patients are doing it for you. And they're usually doing it far better than any ad that you can put together and put out there. A patient saying how great you are is going to be far more valuable than an ad of you saying how great you are.
Absolutely. Having that trust, not only from them, but then having them transfer that trust to their friends, family, and network is extremely valuable.
Yeah, and most clinics, they sort of get this wrong because most clinics focus on what I'd call visible marketing. They do ads. They might do some social media posts. They've got their websites. But here's the kicker. If you can have the best online ad, you can have social media presence, and you can have an absolute kick-ass website. But if the in-clinic experience is flat, rushed, or it feels a little bit awkward, you will lose them. So you can put as much money as you wanted to into your marketing. And like I said, like your website, but if they walk into your clinic and it's like, "Take a seat, fill in this paperwork, doctor will be with you shortly." And then you're just sitting there in the cold, because most clinics are cold. It's not a great, and all of a sudden you've gone, "Wow, I just went to this website and it looked awesome." But what I'm experiencing now does not feel awesome. And that will actually turn patients off.
Yeah, that mismatch is huge. Like either could be a great opportunity to extend. If you have a great online experience and turning into a great in clinic experience, it's that's on brand and people love that. But like you said, if there's a drop off in either way, there can be lack of trust built on the website, and then but you provide great care so that people don't know about it, or the opposite way, right? Where the website is fantastic, it tells it kind of shows what they do in a very positive way, but they get to the clinic and they don't have that same wow experience. It can be a real disappointing experience for them. That's what they're left with when they leave your clinic.
Yeah. And so the next thing I want to talk about is just how important it is for your team to be happy as well, because they're a major part of your marketing. And this one's huge, is your internal culture in your business shows up externally. You may not think it does. You might think, "Oh, all the turmoil that might be happening in the background, nobody notices." But it does get noticed. If your team enjoys being at work, if they feel supported, if they have heaps of energy, patients feel it instantly. As soon as they enter your clinic, they will actually notice that. But if your team is stressed, they're disengaged, they don't want to be there, they're just going through the motions because that's how they get their pay packet at the end of the week, patients will actually feel that as well. And you can't fake happiness. You can't actually outsource happiness. You can't sort of say, "Oh, let's get another company to, that we're going to outsource our happiness to another company so they can do things for us." It doesn't work that way. It is yourself and your team have got to have this certain level of happiness for it to sort of funnel through to your patients.
Absolutely. The team culture and the clinic culture is a huge component of, like you said, that transfers over to the patients as well.
Yeah. So I'm going to give 5 practical ways to create more happiness in your clinic, in case people are wondering. I'm going to make it very practical. So number 1, improve the first 10 seconds. Patient walks in, warm greeting. Use the patient's name. Have eye contact, and none of that is actually hard to do. The second thing is slow down that first minute. Is don't rush into the treatment. Don't be too eager. Ask why they came in and actually let them talk. The third thing is explain the outcome clearly, is give them a vision of improvement so they can actually see, make them feel confident about what is actually going to happen in the future. And end on a positive note, reinforce any progress that's been made. Be encouraging to the type of treatment you're putting in place, all the things that they're doing, and so that they leave feeling very optimistic about where the treatment is actually headed. And the fifth thing, which is really, really simple, is follow up. A quick message or check-in goes a long way. And none of this costs a lot of money. It's just a little bit of planning, but it will dramatically improve the patient's experience. And I know when I've seen a healthcare provider, and it could be later that day or it could be the next day, I've received a phone call, and it's actually been from them just saying, I was just wondering, how is everything going? That has made a huge difference, especially if it was a really important thing that I was getting checked out.
I think that the human touch is underappreciated, right? Obviously, there's a lot of ways we can automate things and do things online, but when it comes to it, it's a podiatrist or a patient or a doctor-patient relationship, which can be nourished by outreach like that.
Yeah, and I know like every podiatrist or healthcare provider may not have the time to ring patients for certain things to check them, but at least have someone in your team do it. If you've done a nail surgery and you did it in the morning, check in with them sometime during the day. How are you feeling now that the anesthetic's worn off? Or if you did it late that afternoon, you might first thing the next day, just ring it, just touch base with them, see how is it actually going. Makes a huge difference. It'll make a huge difference to the patient.
No, I totally agree.
So, so instead of asking, how do I get more patients, start asking, how can we create an experience that people want to talk about? Because when you do that, marketing becomes easier and a lot more enjoyable. And happiness isn't just a fluffy word. It's a serious business strategy that smart businesses are using if they actually want to get ahead. Because in the world where patients basically have endless choice. They've got a foot problem, they don't have to just see a podiatrist. They could go to a chiropractor, see a physio. Depending where they could be a foot health practitioner, could be their doctor. They might just go to the local chemist shop. So there's heaps of choice out there. So the clinic that makes them feel the best, that's the one that's going to win every single time.
That's a strong point. Like I said, it's not they're gonna forget what you told them years from now, but they're never gonna forget that feeling. So if you can obviously provide great care, but also make them feel like they've been heard and they're important, and what they're dealing with is important to you, that goes a tremendously long way.
Yeah, I think every podiatrist, you just sit back and you think about one of your favorite restaurants. Why is it your favorite? Your favorite cafe that you go to, why is it your favorite? And sometimes, yes, it might be the actual food. But if you were given really good food and really poor service, I don't think the food would, I don't think it matters how good the food was, would you keep going back there? It's the overall experience. It's how that restaurant makes you feel. Cafe is the same. When I think of some of my favorite hotels I've been to, one of them is Tempe Mission Palms in Arizona. And I just love going there. I walk in, yes, it's a great feel. It's got a certain smell to it. But the staff, from the time I walk in there, I've been there 12 or 13 times now. Every time I walk in, half of them, it's always the same staff. They know me by name. They greet you at the counter. Overall, it's such a good feeling. So people need to tap into that, or podiatrists need to tap into that with their patients.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed tonight's topic, Tyson. I think I'm feeling happier after discussing this topic with you tonight.
And that was my goal, Big Jim, is to make you feel happy today. You've got a big smile on your face, which is absolutely fantastic. That has now made me happy. And I think podiatrists can take something from that. If you make your patients happy, you make your team happy, you're going to feel so much happier yourself.
Well put.
Okay, Big Jim, I look forward to talking to you next week.
Sounds great, Tyson.
Okay, see ya.
Bye now.